I might refer to, so I might look down.
Okay.
The checklist.
It's on. Okay, I'm press record in 3, 2, 1, record. Hello, and welcome to Jason Cavness Experience. I'm your host, Jason Cavness. The Jason Cavness Experience is brought to you by Cavness HR. Cavness HR, focus on your business. We've got your HR. Our guest today is Erin Longmoon of Zephyr Recruiting. Erin, are you ready to be great today?
I sure am.
Erin's mission in life is to eradicate toxic workplaces. She believes that everyone deserves to love their job and feel like they are contributing to a greater purpose. As the owner of Zephyr Recruiting, LLC, she accomplishes this mission by matching great small businesses with the right fit employees. Erin has more than 2 decades of experience helping small businesses and has owned 5 businesses herself. The passion to eradicate toxic workplaces comes from a place a lot of us can resonate with. When Erin was an employee at a company with a toxic workplace, she saw firsthand how the culture impacted everyone on a deep level. The toxic workplace reduced morale and productivity, followed her home, and led good employees to quit. Erin, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Jason. I appreciate it too. So is this my time? Do I get the air? Awesome.
Yes.
All right. So I do want to take a quick moment and talk a little bit about Zephyr Recruiting. And you introduced our mission, which is to eradicate toxic workplaces, and it is a very near and dear mission of mine for a variety of reasons that we don't have time to go into. But I created Zephyr Recruiting as a first step towards living out that mission. And the main way that we do that is we focus on trying to find what we call the right fit employee. And, there's a lot of emphasis on trying to find top talent and the best and the A players and all of that. And none of that is necessarily wrong. But what we want our clients to focus on is what we call the right fit, because an A player to you is a different kind of employee than an A player might be to someone else in a different industry or even your competitor. And part of that is because things like skills and experience and education, they matter. But in our opinion, what matters more are things like core values, and that core values resonate with your company and employee, that it's a good match and they're in alignment. The same thing with, personality fit, culture fit, things like that. And nobody has to be cookie cutter exactly the same. But if certain things aren't in alignment, then it's going to just erupt and it's not going to work out. And we see that time and again. And so our mission is to be sort of matchmakers in the recruiting world for our business, for our clients. And our clients are small business owners, a lot like yours, and generally under 100 employees are most of our clients. And we charge a really affordable flat fee, because we want to serve that community of small business owners, and recruiting is often too expensive for them and out of reach for them. And so we've come up with a model that works really well, where it's high touch, we're human to human, as well as quality is important to us, but we can all do it for an incredibly affordable fee. So that's a little bit about Zephyr, who we are and what we're all about.
So, Erin, one thing that drives me crazy, like when you start a business, of course you gotta hire, you can hire, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of small business owners are hiring pretty much like mini me's, right?
Right.
If they're an extrovert, they hire like other extroverts, or if they're good at marketing, they hire the good at marketing people. How do you convince small business owners, like, no, you need to hire people different from you?
That's a really good question. I think there's a lot of room for diversity, even when you're hiring for right fit. So again, we distill it down to core values. And in all honesty, that's sort of the foundation. So if you have someone who, for example, a core value to your company is, having fun, just something simple. We'll pick something simple like that. To you and to your team, if you don't have fun every day at work, what's life worth? That's important to you. But then you bring on someone who one of their core values is not fun. It's maybe being very detail oriented, and they're nose to the grindstone kind of person, and that high work ethic. And to them, the idea of having fun at work is a waste of time and isn't meaningful to them. So if you bring on someone like that, and trying to mesh them into your culture, it's going to be a mismatch, and it's going to backfire. And either they're going to powerfully take down the morale of your team, which I have seen firsthand more than once. And there is a lot of research that I can't cite off the top of my head, but that shows that you bring in a sour apple and literally within 20 minutes, they can turn the tone of the entire group. or the opposite, they will not feel like they fit and they'll leave, one or that's usually the end result. And if it's the toxic result, it can take years to fix. So diversity is important in things like culture, backgrounds, things like that, experience, that all can still be very diverse. But if you bring in diversity in those like core values, if they rub against each other, then it's going to not work. So that's sort of what we hone in on, that piece.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the toxic person. When I was in the army, I was in Korea and I went to a new job. And in Korea, people go back for 30 days, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
this one of the soldiers was on leash and they came back. I was there for 2 weeks and everything was happy, go lucky, having a good time, every production. This person came back and like it's just like a veil of darkness went on the workplace, right? Everyone's
Yeah.
attitudes changed. It was just like complete turnaround just because she came back, right? It was
Right.
like
It's
crazy.
powerful, right? I mean, it's powerful. The effects can be really devastating. And I think even more so to small business owners because it's a small team. So everybody's going to feel it. You can't hide a toxic person, like somewhere over in the corner. And the costs are so high. The cost of rehiring, the cost of possibly losing great team members, those can sometimes really devastate a small business in a way that, larger businesses probably can bounce back from fairly easily. So it's another reason why we focus on small businesses. It's a very important issue, very important issue.
So Erin, today while we're doing this recording, it's April 24th, 2020. We're in
Right.
the middle of COVID-19.
Yes,
A
we
lot of
are.
a lot of small businesses. Only reason I know that because I looked on my calendar because I have no idea what day and time it
Yeah,
is.
right. You're on quarantine. We talked about that
Yes.
quarantine. Yeah.
A lot of small businesses have already made layoffs or about to make layoffs.
Yes.
Can you talk about how they should be doing this the right way to both take care of the employees and also protect their employer brand? And, when they, after they lay off people off, how they should keep in touch with these people to, keep that bridge open in order to bring them back if that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I can share what we're doing and how it's working because, well, a couple of reasons. We're virtual as it is, so we're 100% virtual. So this idea of staying connected in a virtual world is already something that we have to embrace and face that challenge. And then we have, truth be told, we've had to lay off a portion of our team as well. A lot of small business employers, as you said, have kind of halted hiring right now, and it makes a ton of sense why they're doing that. For the beginning when no one knew what was going on, and so we've had to do the same thing. And so I can share how we're maintaining that connection. In terms of I can't, you asked something early. So if I don't end up answering your whole question, please bring that back up. But some of the things that we're doing is even though people are laid off, we are offering opportunities to stay connected as a whole team, where we're doing at least once a week. We are still holding our weekly meeting and we are making it elective because of the layoff situation. And so we're trying to just tell people this is a time to come. Let's just talk as a team. Let's get connected. We want to hear how things are going for you. And I can tell you that every week, every one of our employees is showing up for that, even the laid off ones. So it's been so great because it also is showing us who's committed to our company, who's committed to our mission. And, they're taking the time out of homeschooling and dealing with the things that they're dealing with at home to show up for us as a team. We've also done some fun things. We had, like a lunch and learn. And again, we're keeping things elective because of this layoff, right? Like we can't, at least my understanding is I can't make them be here, but I'm encouraging them to be here. So we're doing lunch and learn still. And then the other thing we're doing is we use Slack as a communication tool in our team. And I'm putting up fun stuff on Slack. They're putting up fun stuff. We'll take photos of fun things we're doing. Like in my family, we decided to celebrate National Piñata Day, which was just last Saturday. So we got a piñata in the mail and filled it. And, and I sent that out to my team just being like, and what are you guys doing? What kind of fun things are you guys trying to, incorporate into your life right now? And sure enough, team members are just popping photos up there. So we're just trying to stay engaged by asking fun questions, and providing opportunities for us to get together as a team virtually. And then the other step that I encourage any manager or business owner to do is to call your people once a week individually. And that's what I've been doing. And if you have a team of 100 or so people, you're going to have to divide that up. I understand that doesn't work for everybody, but as much as you can, call everyone once a week and check in and just get a pulse on how they're feeling, how they're doing, and talk about your future. That's the other thing I'm doing as the CEO of Zephyr is I'm talking about the future a lot. I'm like, here's what we're working on now that, we're doing some infrastructure stuff. We're working on our business during this coronavirus time because we've got some freedom to do that right now. And we're trying to seize this opportunity. And so I'm sharing all of that with the team. I'm helping them like see this is going to end someday. It will. So, what do we want to focus on? And I'm trying to stay positive and focus on the future. And so those are some of the things that we're doing.
So I think that all your people are still, coming back voluntarily. I think that's a testament to a compliment to you and the company you built.
Thank you. Yes.
So what I'm hearing you saying is the wrong way to do this is, hey, employee X, thank you for your 2 years. You're laid off. I'll call you sometime in the future.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's not a great way to do it. Definitely not. And even the, once every few weeks kind of connection is, I would definitely suggest more frequent touch points than that, and making it a very conscious and intentional thing that you're doing to stay connected to your team, especially the one, if you are a business that plans on bringing everyone back, or at least a good portion back, you really do need to nurture that connection. Otherwise, especially because once you do bring them back, you want people to be able to just get up and running, right? Like nothing ever happened, almost, as best you can. We'll all talk about how it was for us and stuff, but you want people to be able to just go, all right, I'm back at work and I'm ready to go, rather than this sort of awkward, maybe disconnection and, kind of like everybody starting for the first day. It's almost going to be like, well, this is my first day at this company. What do I do now? And you don't want that. You want that such a connection that people will just be ready to go on as soon as you're ready to open the doors. And this will help that a lot.
And one thing I think small business owners have to be careful of when they do layoffs, like suppose you have 30 people in your company, you got I got to lay off 10 people. Mm-hmm. And however you do your metrics, how to decide you lay off like all the females, right? That opens up to all some kind of demographic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it opens it up to maybe discrimination lawsuits, right? So I think you got to be very careful how you do your layoffs.
I would definitely as well. You should have some serious justification about why you chose who you chose. And, I'm not compliant. You are, Jason, so you need to chime in, but I would definitely write those things down, document, like I'm choosing these people because, and, for us, it was the people who we didn't have open requisitions for them, or that we completed them right before the coronavirus, the quarantine, and we don't have anything new for them. So it makes sense why they are the ones, right?
Yeah. I think
go ahead.
I think a lot of small business owners, they do, what's the thing, first hired, last hired, first laid off,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you can't do it. I think you got to base it on productivity and other metrics, mm-hmm. right?
Yes. And again, that's more your own, but I would definitely say that because, why would you pick to lay off certain people than others if it isn't tied to productivity? I guess I have a hard time understanding, the logic behind that. If you want to be a savvy, smart business owner, you need to be looking at like, how is this affecting my business? And so who makes sense to lay off if I don't have to lay off everybody? And so who's going to help you stay productive during this time? Maybe you're shifting gears, like, some of the like ours, and working on your business, doing some infrastructure stuff. Who on your team can help you with that? And the other thing I'll chime in about that is look outside the typical box. I've got a team of recruiters, and there's talent in there. They're recruiters, but there's some people in there who have amazing administrative skills. And right now I need some documents and new forms and things created. So I can engage them and maybe even keep them employed by shifting what they do a little bit. Now, again, they have to be willing, and I ask and they say yes or no or whatever, but they've got strengths that maybe you haven't been able to capitalize on that you can now utilize and keep them employed. So there's, especially tiny employers. We have a team of 8, so we're a very small employer, team. So that's been really amazing, and it's helped keep those people engaged too. So it's been a win-win for both of us.
Erin, so it says your life mission is to get rid of toxic workplaces.
Yeah.
Can you define exactly what is a toxic workplace?
Oh, there's various definitions. I think it's a really great question, Jason. It's like we all know what it is when we've experienced it, but putting in words is a little more challenging. Definitely with a type of place where people come in and not one person maybe, but where a bulk of the people who are walking into work and they are feeling stress. They feel just automatic stress coming to work, or they feel fear coming to work, or they are sad coming to work, or they have a physical reaction to coming to work, which happened to me once. I realized I had to leave a job when every time I drove up and got in the parking lot, I started to get nauseous. like literally nauseous. So I'm like, why am I, what's going on? And it was my first sign that I needed to take a serious look at what was happening at work. But, I'll be honest, in my opinion, and for what I've seen over my many years of working, is toxic workplaces can be created from the top and they can be created from the bottom. It is no one single person's fault. And there's a lot of finger pointing always going on, but that isn't, I really have seen it happen both ways. You can hire a toxic person and it can create a toxic workplace, or it could be the leadership is toxic or the owner is toxic. It just, comes from all different places. But what it ends up looking like ultimately is a very tense, stressful, unhappy, often, a lot of negative words kind of environment to work in.
Can you talk about how like one workplace might have a great culture, but that culture will not be a fit for another place?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see if I can come up with a great example. I mean, we definitely have them running around with our clients, but I know one. So we work for a variety of industries, by the way. As of right now, we've got a lot of industries to work with, but one of them is accounting. And we have an accountant client who is a very unusual accounting firm. It is not your typical stereotype that you would see. So they have fun together. They're very into CrossFit. They do CrossFit together twice a week. They do, comedy and improv classes together. I mean, it's a really unusual kind of place. They wear shorts during the summer with Birkenstocks. They're often wearing their ski gear, or at least have it hanging over their shoulder when they come in the winter because they are near a ski resort. And so they're super active group of people, really different. And they definitely, before they came to us, they were getting a lot of the unfortunate but stereotype type of accountants. And we were looking for a senior accountant for them. And they were getting a lot of your traditional, they were showing up in suit and ties. And again, that nose to grindstone, certain detail oriented, that's important. But they were not a good like culture fit or personality fit, and their core values weren't in alignment with this company. So they were going through a lot of people. And so when we came on board, we helped them identify who this right fit employee is. That's what one of the first things we do is we create a right fit employee profile, and it drills down to all those different components that make someone a right fit. You can kind of liken it to thinking of your ideal client, actually. It's really similar to that, which you touched upon appointment brand marketing, and I'd love to talk about that next if we can. But so, we were able to hone in that these guys are not your typical accounting firm. So how do we attract and find the not typical accountant? And so we had to do some employment brand marketing. We had to create a different kind of recruiting experience that would help draw in that right kind of fit person and also repel out the wrong kind of person. And we did that through improvisational comedy. We actually used improvisational comedy in the recruiting process a little bit. And it's just a little tease. It was nothing huge, but it was a part of the interview process and it was fun. And the people who embraced it just stood out as the candidates that were the ones that were the right fit. And it just really helped us hone in on those right people. So there's an example.
I'm sure most of them are like, "What in the world's going on?
Heck yes.
I'm not doing a skit for an accounting job. Are you crazy?"
Yeah, are you crazy? And you know what? I mean, would you? I don't know. I even was like, wow, I don't know if I'd be willing to step up and do that. But that's what's so great about a process like that, where the process is also in alignment with your culture. If your recruiting process is in alignment, it's going to help you hone into that right fit employee. So that's something to think about when you're, it's not just throw out your post and, get your resume and, these guys fit the main boxes and interview. It's good to bring in different components of your culture into that, including the post itself. The post itself should reflect your culture. So
yeah, the example I use, like I've never worked these two places. I have lots of friends who have, is Starbucks and Amazon.
Yes.
So Starbucks,
yes.
I pretty much heard the first 30 days, you don't do no work. You just walk around, collaborate, meet people, build relationships, or Amazon, you work, you better, get to it like right away. Right.
Right.
So if you go to Amazon to Starbucks with that Amazon attitude, you're not going to make it. If you go to Starbucks and vice versa, you're not make it either. Right. So.
Yep. That's an excellent example, especially on the big level that probably a lot of people will know. So true. Which brings us to kind of the employment brand marketing, which I think was part of your question earlier.
Yes.
Was how do you preserve your employee brand, right? Or your
Yes.
employment brand. So part of I think what's important right now is if you are a company that is doing employment brand marketing, which is basically marketing to your target employee, your ideal employee, is that you share what you're doing. So if you are doing those weekly touch points, if you are having a lunch and learn, if you are having weekly meetings, even though half your team is laid off, however you're engaging with your team right now when they're laid off, share that. You find ways to share that. You don't want to do it as a toot your horn kind of thing, but just share it authentically. We put up little images of our, Zoom. We do screenshots of our Zoom meetings that it looks like the Brady Bunch, like we're the Brady Bunch. And, we put it up there. And for example, we also celebrated National Pajama Day, wear your pajama to work day. So we all got in our pajamas and we had our meeting in our pajamas, and we took a little screenshot and we put it up in social media. And we're like, we are finding ways to stay engaged with our team. And I will say, I am so happy that my team is showing up. This is awesome. I love you all so much. Show your love and keep doing it. Don't stop right now just because you've got a team that's laid off. This is a really great time to share how you are what we call an employer of choice. And when people in this economy, we've got high unemployment right now, and people are choosing right now to take this opportunity to leave their job. Good quality people are choosing to leave their job and look for a new opportunity. We are seeing it firsthand. So we know this is happening. So it's a great time to attract those people right now by showing how cool you are or what a great place to work you are. And if you're not a fun, if you guys don't do silly string wars or, have beer Fridays, that's okay. That's the other thing, is don't apologize for your culture. Own your culture, but reflect your culture, because there is, just like there's supposedly a soulmate for everybody. I don't know if that's true, but there's soulmate employees for everybody. So if you are a serious nose to the grindstone kind of company, be that, own it, share it, show it, and that's who you'll attract. So that's really important.
I
And this is
definitely
a
got
great time to do it.
I definitely got to own it, right? Because I remember when I got out of the army a few years ago, I was looking for a job, and one company I looked at, they're all like avid bicyclists, right? I mean, avid bicyclists,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They even had the bicycles on the office, right? I said, this ain't the place for me, because
Yeah.
I'm not a big bicycle guy, right? So I immediately knew this would not be the company for me, right? So I definitely think by doing that, you distract the people from applying for your company.
Which is only going to help you, right? As an employer, that's only going to help you, because then you don't have to go through the mound of wrong fit resumes, right? And I mean, with this high unemployment, it's going to shift. We've seen such low unemployment, record low unemployment for the last few years. And that has made it to where you might get 5, right? 5 people might actually apply to your job if you put it out there. Well, it's about to shift. And if this unemployment rate stays as high as it is, you're going to get thousands. In the recession, there were employers who were getting literally 2,000 resumes per role. It's overwhelming. So by doing employment brand marketing, own your brand, live your brand, breathe it, and show it to the world, you are going to help. You still may get those 2,000, but it's going to be so easy to flow through those and figure out which ones are the right ones and which ones aren't. So we really, really recommend employment brand marketing highly to the small business owner. Yeah.
Let's talk about the 2020 grads real quick. A few months ago, the world was an oyster, great plans of graduating. The job market was great. And now, I mean, everything's canceled. The job market is not the best. What advice do you have for them to move forward?
Oh, Jason. I mean, my heart breaks. I'll be honest. I mean, I have family members. I have multiple family members who are graduating from high school. I've got a couple that are actually graduating from college, and it's just devastating for both of them. At least the college kids have somewhere they're going to go to college. It may be virtual and weird at first, but their dreams are squashed. They've been looking at this senior year moment for their whole lives, right? Yeah. And the same thing with college. And I probably don't have the best advice. I think you should chime in too if you've got some great advice. I mean, I will say, back in the recession, this happened to me. I actually went back to school and got my second time around. And when I graduated, it was the recession, literally the same year. It just tanked. And at the time, I happened to be in interior design. So, I mean, we're talking no jobs, because the entire construction community just went zero in a matter of a month. So there were no jobs. So what did I do? Because I'm an entrepreneurial spirit, I started my own interior design firm. So, I mean, that's one thing you could consider, is just, if you're that type of person who can create work for yourself, create a job, there's no workout. And I know it's probably not the best English, but there is work out there. It just may not look traditional. There are industries that are booming. You might want to look at those. skills and see how can you help, what kind of job, what kind of place is there for you there. You can create your own thing if you can. I know it's not the best advice for everybody, but the only other thing I say is stay positive. This is going to end. Nobody has a crystal ball. I wish we did. This would be a different conversation if we did. But so we don't know for sure what the economy is going to look like. We're getting very different, very, very opposite kinds of information about that, whether it's going to boom after because everybody is just so ready to go, or whether or not we're going to go into a full-blown recession. So I don't know, but I would say just hold on to hope. And in the meantime, one thing you can do that just came to me is just network as best you can. If I were I'm going to actually twist this for a moment, put myself in their shoes. If I know that I needed a job and I knew there's nothing available, I'd probably actually start looking for companies that I wanted to work for. And again, that's where employment brand marketing comes in. I would probably start doing some research on that. Which ones look like a place that would be a good fit for me? And I would probably start reaching out and say, I know you're not hiring right now, but I think we're a good fit. I think I've got something I can offer you when you are ready. Can we talk? Can we have a conversation? And you might actually get a little bit more yeses to that question right now because people are slower. People do have more space. There's a little bit more of a sense of compassion and humanness to our interactions right now. So I don't know. What else? What do you think, Jason? Do you have any
I
ideas?
mean, of course, everyone's economic situation is different, right? But if you can afford it, maybe stay in school, get your master's degree,
Oh, that's a great
or
idea.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe you have somewhere to stay. Maybe you can just go back to your parents' house and stay. But
Mhm.
like you said, definitely network, which you should be doing all the time. And I would reach out to startups, and
Excellent idea.
work for a
Yeah. What
startup.
industries do you think would be good for that? Because there's startups in every industry. So
Yeah. I
what are
mean,
you
because all
thinking?
startups
Thinking
need
tech and
marketing. They all need
Mhm.
sales. Obviously, tech. Because a lot of people think, startups only need like, software development. No, they need business development, operations. They need the whole thing, right?
Right.
So I think there's opportunity too. And then but of course, and maybe you got to take a job, being a cashier at a grocery store. Maybe you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yes, there is that too. And there's a lot of jobs being added right now in those spaces. Delivery, I know people are making $30 an hour being a delivery driver for, Uber Eats. So
Yep.
it's not if you need to make money, that's not a bad way to go. It'll also show future employers that you were industrious and you didn't just sit back and treat this like a vacation. So that's
Because
another thing.
I mean, 'cause
Um,
there are companies still hiring, right? I
Yes, there
mean,
are. Oh, yeah. And actually on LinkedIn, I think if you Google like companies still or companies who are hiring right now and add in LinkedIn, they are updating a list all the time. And
I
how
saw
many
that.
jobs? Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And there are companies that are hiring 30, 40,000 jobs or 100 plus thousand jobs right now. They need people. The SBA needs people desperately. It's
Yeah.
another organization. The other thing that came to my mind is think about offering yourself as an intern. Maybe you can work part-time at an Uber Eats or something if you need the cash, but whether you do need the cash or you don't, this might be an opportunity to get your foot in the door at a company. If somebody came to me and said, wow, Erin, I love your business and what you are doing. Can I intern for you right now for free to help you do something? I'd be like, yes, because we are putting infrastructure things in place and we could absolutely use the help. So you might think about that as another way of getting your foot in the door, right? And then impress them. And then boom, you probably will get a job offer as soon as they're able.
And moving on,
Yeah.
you've owned 5 companies so far.
Yeah.
Does being an entrepreneur get any easier the more you do it?
No. No. Well, okay. So my journey is a little different. Most of my jobs, I will admit, have been mostly me. I've had others that had employees, but mostly it's been me, more freelance type of, employing myself. And then I had 2 other jobs where I had a house clean company, which got me through my second, going to school the second time. And I had employees. And then in my interior design firm, I had a couple of employees. And now here where I've got a bigger company. And every time I face different challenges and every time I face different issues. And of course, being entrepreneur right now in this COVID thing, whoa, right? I mean, you're a business owner. Did you ever think this was going to be a part of your CEO training? I didn't.
No.
So we're all flying by the seat of our pants. So no, it does not get any easier. Certain aspects do. I mean, I know how to start up a company in my sleep. I mean, I know everything I need to do to get a company up and running. But leadership, the teams are different. That's a different leadership challenge just by simply having different teams and the dynamics and marketing challenges. Marketing is changing all the time, and I cannot keep up with that. And then stuff like this, recessions, COVID, that kind of stuff is hardcore training for sure. So no. Doesn't get much easier, but I love it. It's so fun. Like,
Yes,
to
it
me,
is.
it's fun. I
It
love
is. It
being a
is fun.
sewer.
It is fun.
Hmm.
So, Erin, we're going to change the subject a little bit.
Okay.
Talk about your time as an interior architect.
Oh yeah. What do you want to know? Anything specific or
No, just anything
just
you
what
want
it
to talk
was?
about.
Well, I'll tell you. So I was very passionate about interior architecture. I always have been. When I was a younger, this was one of the things that was like, oh, that's what you were meant to do your whole life. So even as a young girl, I would, go to the bathroom at a restaurant and come back, and all I could talk about is everything that was in the bathroom, the way it was appointed, and the sink and the faucet, and so it's kind of like in my blood to love interior spaces and the way we relate to them. So it just made sense to me. I will be honest, when I graduated, it was in the 80s from high school. I didn't know interior architecture was an option. Like, I really had no idea. So that's not the way I went. And then when I finally realized it was an option and it just kept pulling at me, I decided to go back to school. I got a degree in interior architecture. And then I went out. I told you it was the recession. So I started my own gig at first. It was residential and it was hard. It was a hard time to do it. So I eventually, after about 2 years, which still the recession was kind of happening, I went and got a job. And I did commercial, residential, senior living. I mean, I've kind of done multiple types, and I love commercial the best, I will say, but residential has another special place in my heart. But during that segment of my career, which I ended not very long into it, less than 10 years, it was probably some of the most toxic workplaces that I've ever worked. And it's so interesting you bring this up, Jason, because I haven't thought about this in a while. I'll be honest, I haven't. And it was in like 2008, after my father passed away suddenly in 2007, and it shook my world. Just losing someone just quickly like that with no warning is a very jarring kind of thing to your world, and it made me reevaluate my life, which I think is not an uncommon reaction to something like that. You realize how life is so short and so precious. And I realized that I was loving what I was doing day to day sometimes, but I was not happy in that industry. And I kind of shut my door on it and kind of never looked back. And I've always wondered why. I've thought about it many times, but I think in this conversation right now, I'm having an aha moment that it is because for me, it was an incredibly toxic environment. And I don't think that that's anybody's fault. It's actually more my fault than anybody else's, which is a totally other discussion, Jason, that we can have if you want. But that's what it is. It ended in 2008 because it just wasn't it culturally speaking, ultimately it was not the right fit for me.
And that's how you transfer to the recruiting world.
Well, sort of. I've been recruiting actually on and off ever since the beginning of my career. I've always worked for small companies, small companies. And so they often needed us to wear multiple hats, right? That's how it is. You've got a team of 5 people and everybody's got to do different things. So I was often pegged as the recruiter, as someone to do the interviewing and the hiring for the company. So I've been doing it since 1995. I'm really going to date myself. Since 1995, I have been peppered recruiting all throughout that time. And then it became a very big part of my functioning, part of my job after interior design. The first job I took after interior design, I was an office manager, and one of my primary functions was HR and recruiting. And that's where I really honed my craft, because they were very similar to my mindset. It's like, you need to bring on the right people, and we were very picky, and we needed just the right people. So I really honed that craft during that position. And then I went off to be a business coach because I love business so much. And then I pivoted that to being recruiter, which is a whole other story as to why I did that. But it just made the most sense. I'll say it that way, is the simplest answer.
Erin, you have a remote
Yeah.
company. Talk about some of the challenges of running a remote company.
Yeah, I'm glad you're bringing that up, especially right now, because a lot of people are all of a sudden find themselves remote, right? And they've never been remote before. I honestly think that, there's the initial startup, that was a challenge, but probably our biggest challenge that I work on and think about all the time is, how do I actually grow and develop and nurture a company culture when we're virtual? I would love more than anything to do Taco Tuesdays with my team, or to do silly string wars, like I mentioned before. We're a very fun company, by the way. If you can't tell, we tend to have fun. So it's like, how can we do that? How do we maintain that connection? And how do we get that culture to infuse into everybody and what we're doing every day from a virtual standpoint, when we only see each other on Zoom maybe once, twice, 3 times a week at the most, and the rest of the time we're off working, doing our own thing? And that to me, because obviously culture is that piece of this is so passionate for me, is our biggest challenge. So we just have to keep it forefront of mind all the time and seize every moment we can to celebrate ourselves as a team. And I've just decided, actually, I'll tell you, just yesterday, I'm like, that's it. I'm going to assign a fun ambassador to our team. And I'm going to talk to my team, figure out who wants to do this. And it's like, I want you to be the fun ambassador, and I want you to look out for fun opportunities for us. What kind of fun, silly national holidays can we celebrate? What kind of, just funny, like we can do Taco Tuesdays. We might be in 4 time zones. So it might be breakfast tacos for some of the team and lunch tacos for the other part of the team. But we can do that, right? Like we can do that. So that's our biggest challenge. And so I have to keep it at the forefront of my mind all the time. Like almost daily, I think about that a little bit.
Erin, can you tell us some of the tools you use for your company?
Somewhat.
Some of the tools?
Like, are you talking about like
Yeah, systems. Yeah.
systemization tools?
Systems. Yeah, like
We
Slack or whatever.
Yeah, this is one of my big things. We need to systemize better, but we are using Slack like endlessly for our team communications. We use Trello for project management and even our to-do list. A lot of us use it as our own personal to-do list. So we use Trello a lot, and we sync the two and use the integrations. On Slack, we've gotten really excited about Donut. Have you heard of Donut yet, Jason?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so Donut is really fun. It is an integrated app that you sign up for within Slack, and it I can't think of the word, but it picks at random. That's what it is. Random. It randomly picks people from your team to get together and have a donut. Like your coffee donut thing. And so if you're connected, once we all get back together, you can literally go have lunch with that person if you want to. But obviously for us, we have to do it virtual. And for a lot of people right now during quarantine, we would have to do it virtual. But you're not supposed to talk about business at all. It is just getting 2 people. Sometimes there's 3 of us to get just connected and kind of socialize. And it makes it happen intentionally instead of leaving it to chance. So we're loving Donut. From the back end side of things, we have been using like just relatively free or low cost CRMs and ATS in our own version of an ATS, but we're about to systemize and we're looking at Zoho One. And I think that's probably what we're going to implement is Zoho One because it's fully are you familiar with that one?
Yeah, I actually use Zoho Books for my bookkeeping.
Oh, do you? Okay, so Zoho Books is one of the apps. So Zoho One has the 45 different apps that you can integrate and use, and you can plug in what you want and what you don't need. So that's what we're going to go with, and that's one of the things we're hoping to implement this year. And that'll integrate all of our kind of processes, and it will help us automate more, which is one of the things that as a small business we're struggling with is automation. But we're making it work.
Erin, you already talked about this, but can you expand on what makes your company different from other recruiting companies?
Yeah, I think when it comes down to really our heart, there's the logistics. We're flat fee. We're all about the right fit. We get to know our clients. We are really an extension of our clients. So we dive in deep with them, who they are, what their culture is. We interview their employees. I mean, we have an extensive onboarding process with our clients. So we really understand who they are, and we embody them then as we go out and try to find the right fits for them. And we represent them, and we take that seriously. But I think ultimately it's our heart. We really care about people, and we care about making this experience a very positive one for both candidates and for the client. And candidates tell us that this is like the best recruiting experience they've ever had. We hear that over and over and over again. And they feel like they are being treated like human beings. And we make sure that they know that what they want matters to us as much as what our clients want. Because if it's not a fit, it's not a fit for either one, right? And it's not going to work for either one. And so it's ultimately underneath it all is that we really care. And we love what we're doing.
Erin, you did a LinkedIn post yesterday and talk about this as actual opportunity for small business.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, thank you. I have really gone through a big mindset shift. The first couple of weeks of this coronavirus thing, right? It was scary and everybody felt it. We're not sure what to do, kind of paralyzed. But I am now shifting out of that. My head's coming out of the fog, and I'm starting to see this is a time of opportunity. And I really, as an owner, and I believe this for all business owners, it is a time to seize this moment and take a hold of that opportunity. So what we're actually sharing with a lot of our clients, again, is that employment brand marketing. And a lot of small business owners don't do it. And you talked about Starbucks, you talk about Amazon, people know Costco, people have an idea of what it's like to work there. They have a reputation as an employer. Now we need to distill that down to the small business owner, because you're competing for those same people, right? Like you want good people on your team, and you need to beat out sometimes some of these bigger players and even medium-sized players. How do you do that? Well, you have to show why you're an employer of choice. Why should they work for you? So we're talking to our clients. We've been coaching our clients on this a lot, but now we're turning it into like a bona fide thing. And we've got a really great checklist now that I'm going to share with your listeners. I'll tell them how to get this at the end. That sort of walks you through a process, a really effective process to set up your employment brand marketing. And we're also going to be hosting a webinar. So depending on, I know this is live, but depending on when your viewers or your listeners hear this, it's on May 7th. So might be after that, but if it's before May 7th, we are having a live webinar where it's super heavily educational. We're developing 7 to 8 different tools to help people walk through this process. But this is all about attracting that right fit employee. So I think this is an opportunity right now during this COVID crisis to work on your business and position yourself to just soar after this is over. And obviously for us, employment brand marketing should be a big part of that.
Erin, how do you figure out if a potential client is actually a good match for your company?
Oh, so good. I take an hour or more, sometimes an hour and a half to talk to them about their business. I ask a lot of probing questions. I think of it, I put on what I call like my detective hat or my coaching hat, which are really similar. So I ask really meaningful questions. I ask about values, but I don't just say, what are your values that you've written down on here, I've got this little thing, dream, achieve, succeed, whatever it says. Dream, believe, achieve, right? Somebody could say that's their core values, but I go, okay, cool. So tell me how you guys do that. What do you guys do in your company to do that? What kinds of ways do you live out your values? And that's important to us. We don't have to have the same values necessarily as our clients by any means, but we need to know that they authentically live them, that they're true core values, because that's what we're going to be recruiting for. And I basically, it comes down to one of our immutable laws or one of our core values is no jerks. Like we will not work for jerk employers. So if they have a positive attitude about their employees, if they love their team, if they're committed to creating a great place to work, if they see that their human beings are their most valuable asset in their business, far more so than the service and their books and their bank account, those are the right clients for us. And I just hone in on that in a discovery call. I just ask a lot of questions.
Erin, so your clients are actually an employer, correct?
Yes, exactly.
So what if like an employee, John Brown, is looking for a job? Can they reach out to you and say, hey, Zephyr Recruiting, I'm John Brown.
Yeah.
Do you have anything for me?
Yes, people do. And they see us and they do. And so if we have something and it seems like a great fit, we will absolutely do that. So we'll help them in that way. We also give candidates a lot of advice sometimes about how to help them. If we don't have a position for you right now, by learning what it is you're looking for, I might be able to point you in a new direction that you hadn't thought of before. So we definitely do that. We don't get hired by candidates to go out and try to find them a job. That's a different model, and that isn't the way we work. But candidates are welcome to reach out to us. Absolutely.
So Erin, as a small business owner, what kind of HR challenges do you have?
Oh, you touched upon it. I honestly think, because I thought about this, I honestly think that our biggest challenge with HR is that idea of staying connected as a virtual team. And so it isn't the compliance. And I know that can be a challenge for a lot, but we're not a heavily compliant, we don't have a lot of regulations that are over us. So we're lucky that way. And the way we recruit and all of that is very in alignment with the equal opportunity employer laws and things like that. So our biggest challenge day to day is just how do I stay connected and how does my team feel like they are a part of a company and they're part of a team, even though they're working in the little corner office in their bedroom over in Idaho or, because we've got people all over the country. So that honestly is our biggest challenge. And I think we're doing a great job, but I'm not going to ever get complacent about it.
So that brings up a good question. So you have people all across the United States, and each area has a different culture, right?
Yeah.
How do you wrap it all around, your company culture, the culture in Idaho? Because things, everywhere is different. How do you figure all that out?
Well, that's a really good question. If I understand what you're asking me, it goes back to that honing in on people whose personal core values are in alignment with Zephyr's core values. So the culture, I love cultural diversity, right? Like the culture components of Idaho versus Oregon versus Texas versus here in Cleveland. I mean, definitely different. And that's awesome. Like we all bring that up and celebrate that. And I try to model that, by the way. It starts with me in that if somebody brings up some interesting cultural component of where they live, I'm like, wow, that sounds amazing. Tell us more about that, and then I'll say, so what other funky things do you guys have going on where you live? And, so we embrace that cultural diversity by making sure that it's welcomed here and that it can be showcased here and honored and celebrated. But when it comes down to who we pick, it still comes down to that your personal core values need to be in alignment with our core values. You need to buy into our mission and be passionate about what we're up to. Otherwise, it's just not going to be the right fit for us, no matter where you live. So that's kind of how we deal with that.
I think a good example, I'm from Texas. So I live in
Mm-hmm.
Seattle now. Every time I go home to Texas, I go to the grocery store, go out, everyone, hey, darling, have a good
Oh,
day,
yeah.
That's not happening in Seattle. No one's calling me darling in Seattle, right?
Yeah, it's so true. I actually lived in Dallas, Texas. That's one good. I've lived all over this country, which has served me well at this point because I have no preconceived notions, right? And no stereotypes, or very few. And I'm very conscious when they show up, right? I'm like, whoa, that's a stereotype. Where'd that come from? But and then I challenge myself. But it's you are very right, very, very right. The kinds of culture and social norms that happen in a place like Texas versus Seattle is very different. But that's what's so cool, right? Like we have someone on our team from Texas and he's saying y'all all the time. And it's awesome. We love that.
I mean, I could just imagine if I was a store in Seattle, someone said, thank you, darling. Everyone like head to
Thank you,
return,
darling.
look at that person like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And that's interesting. The bias stuff is really important. And that's, I'm again not a huge expert. I pay attention, because it matters to me, but I'm not a diversity and inclusion expert by any means. But what I try to emulate and model, and the kinds of people we bring on our team, is that they get the social differences and we embrace them and we don't take them personally. It is not personal if somebody comes from Texas and says, thanks, darling, appreciate you, or whatever. That, that's their culture. It has nothing to do with, yeah. But then you have to respect the people in a place like Seattle where that might come across offensive, or they might be, that's not the kind of thing that you would say there, and go, okay, I'm in a different place. Maybe I need to temper this a little bit while I'm here. It's a game. It's unfortunately, and it's an important one, but it's hard. It's hard to keep up with for sure sometimes. But here at Zephyr, we just try to embrace the differences and celebrate them.
Erin, I understand you have a gift for our listeners.
Oh, I do. Yeah, it was the checklist I mentioned before. So we have this really cool employment brand marketing checklist. We spent quite a bit of time where we broke out all the different steps and phases that if you're interested in starting employment brand marketing, or even if you're doing it, but you're not sure you're doing it quite thoroughly enough or well, then this checklist will be a huge, huge help. And so that is on our website. And it's a special address just for your listeners. And it's zephyrrecruiting.com/Cavness, spelled obviously the way you spell your name, Cavness. And so that is there for them. And then you will also, once you get that, there are 3 videos that will come after that to help you walk through each phase and talk to you about why each phase is what it is and why we broke it down this way and why they're important. And then again, if you do want to join us on our May 7th webinar, you are welcome to do that. It's 3:00 Eastern time. And as of right now, so there is a $100 cost for that because it's heavily robust and very educational, but I will give your listeners a 50% off if they would like to do that and do it for $50. So they should probably email me if they'd like to do that. My email, which I'd like to give you anyway, is Erin, ERIN, at zephyrrecruiting.com. And Zephyr is ZEPHYR, and then the word recruiting.com.
Thank you, Erin. That's very valuable.
Yeah.
Next, your social media. Can you follow your social media? Can you give us your social media for both yourself and your company so people can reach out to you?
Yeah, so primarily we're on LinkedIn and Facebook right now. Those are our primary channels, and both are the same. You can find me, Erin Longmoon. So Longmoon is LONGMOON, just like it sounds. Or you can just type in Zephyr Recruiting and you'll find us. And so on both channels, or in both avenues, LinkedIn or Facebook.
And for our listeners, you find the links to her gift and her social media on the blog at www.canvashrblog.com. And be sure to share this episode with your friends.
Yes, please.
So,
Love
Erin,
it.
we'll come to the end of our talk. Can you share any advice or wisdom on anything you want to talk about?
Oh, in these days, right now with coronavirus, yeah, I think that what I would like to share is something that someone said to me a couple of weeks ago. I actually did a webinar I was in, a viewer, and the presenter said, "Don't waste this quarantine." And that really shifted my mindset in that moment, hearing that. And I just was like, yeah, I'm going to commit to myself to make sure that I take this time, how crazy it is, to shift to a more positive future mindset, and to not waste this quarantine, and to do things that I've wanted to do, to make commitments to my team. And even personally, I have a little short list of things that I'm now working on personally, that I'm like, now is the time for me to do this. And so I'm making a commitment to grow from this. And I guess if I had advice, I would say, if you can, if you're in a position where you can seize this as an opportunity, grow from this experience, prepare yourself for when it's over by doing things that are productive, then I urge you to do that. Don't waste your quarantine.
Erin, I agree with you. This is a perfect time to work on not only your company, but also work on yourself and improve both.
Yes. It's a great
Erin,
time for that.
Erin, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate you being willing to have this conversation.
And to our listeners, thank you for your time as well. And remember to be great every day. Stop the live.